Hey Internet, Eric here again. Finally doing another movie-related video for you guys. I've been so fucking busy lately, not able to think of what I want to do, be it, a movie review or a movie defense, with my You Hate It, I Don't videos. But I've been trying to stay relevant in the world of YouTube, still trying to get some content out there. So I started vlogging, I started, getting drunk and ranting on YouTube. Just so I'm able to put something out there. But tonight I'm finally able to put an actual movie-related video out. And it's going to be a You Hate It, I Don't. If you're new to my channel, welcome. You Hate It, I Don't is a concept I've decided of doing. It's where I feel I'm in the minority of really enjoying a film. Or at least just liking it in general. And of course the majority of critics or fans or my friends or what have you can't stand it. Hence, You Hate It, I Don't. And there's a lot of talk about the movie Creed. The spin-off movie of the Rocky films. And of course Sylvester Stallone won a Golden Globe for his performance. And I believe he was just nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in Creed. And I'm actually hoping he wins it, whether it's boycotted or not by Jada Pinkett and Will Smith or whoever. But I really do. I hope Stallone wins it because I think it'll be so fucking cool. I mean, Sylvester Stallone is this action star, from the 80s, and he's nominated for a dramatic role, Best Supporting Actor. And, I'm a huge, huge, huge Stallone fan. So I'm pushing for him. Now, be that as it may, I brought up Creed because the film I'm talking about is one of the Rocky movies. And a lot of these Rocky movies have its fans. I mean, you have the first two that are really, really good movies, dramatic movies, intense movies. You have the cheesy ones, parts 3 and 4. You have Rocky Balboa, part 6, that, is a great way to end the chapter of Rocky Balboa himself as a main character. And then you have what I'm going to talk about today, You Hate It, I Don't, Rocky 5. Okay, Rocky 5 came out in 1990, and it was written by Sylvester Stallone, and it says here, directed by John G. Avildsen, who was the Academy Award-winning director of the original Rocky. Okay, now this isn't Rocky, but still, this is Rocky 5. If you're new to my channel, again, this movie came out in 1990, so spoilers, whatever. It's a fucking Rocky movie. Anyways, Rocky's done fighting Ivan Drago from part 4, and he's on his way home, and we find out that Rocky has severe brain damage, and he must retire from, his boxing career. And as he goes back to his mansion, we find out that he has lost pretty much all of his money due to bad financial advisor, And it was, it's basically Uncle Paulie's fault because Uncle Paulie, played by, is it Burt Young? Yeah, played by Burt Young. It was Uncle Paulie's idea to use this guy. So Rocky has to leave the mansion, sell all of his stuff, and he's moves back to South Philly in the ghetto. And he eventually he takes on a young wannabe fighter, Tommy Gunn, or Tommy the Machine Gun, played by Tommy Morrison, professional boxer. One of my favorites. When I was actually into boxing, I really enjoyed Tommy Morrison. Of course, eventually the fame goes to Tommy Morrison's head. He gets a manager who's basically a ripoff of Don King, wins the title, blah, 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 says he did it all himself without Rocky. Eventually him and Rocky clash. They have their final fight, which is really cool because it's a street fight. It's not in the ring. The end. Alright. Now, I honestly don't know why a lot of people shit on this one. I mean, yes, Rocky 1 and 2 are great dramatic movies. And then you have the cheesiness. I don't give a fuck what you think. Rocky 3 is so cheesy, and Rocky 4 just cranks that cheese factor up even more. Now it's good cheese, you know. It's like, you know, Swiss or pepper jack. It's not fucking head cheese or anything like that. And then you follow with Rocky 5, which takes it more dramatic, which is what I like. You know, excuse me rubbing my hands or stuff. You know, I'm in Illinois and I'm in my basement and it's like fucking 3 degrees here, so I'm trying to keep warm. Excuse me. But what I was saying is I like how it goes from the cheesiness of 3 and 4 and it goes back to its dramatic roots. It's really good seeing Rocky back as the underdog. And I don't mean like the underdog because he's fucking fighting, you know, Mr. T or Dolph Lundgren. He's the underdog in life. Okay? He's trying to make a living. He's trying to, you know, Adrian, you know, once again played by Talia Shire, is, you know, trying to help him. You know, she gets a job, I think, at the fucking pet store where she was in part 1. He's an underdog with his son, Rocky Jr., who is played by Sage Stallone, you know, Sylvester's actual son, who sadly passed away a few years ago. But it's really good dynamic because Rocky Jr. is growing up in the shadow of Rocky Sr. And it's kind of cool seeing, you know, young Sage Stallone playing that route of a young man growing up in the shadow of his famous father, Sylvester. So Rocky's there trying to be the good father to Rocky Jr., or he goes by Robert here. And seeing, you know, Rocky Jr. go from, you know, he's used to all these, you know, the prep schools and stuff like that. He's going to the fucking ghetto school in Philadelphia. He's got to deal with bullies, and what have you. It's really good, you know, with some nods to the original film, but role reversals, where Rocky, when he takes Tommy Gunn as a, you know, as a student, as a pupil, Rocky is now playing the Mickey role, you know, and what I like is he's not trying to be this tough, you know, grumpy bastard that Mickey was. He's this sympathetic, he's a character, but he's also trying to inspire Tommy. And you know, there's a scene where, you know, they're in one of Tommy's fights, and Tommy's talking about how he's afraid, and he looks at Tommy, and he's like, you know, good, you could use this fear. Use this fear as like a fire, and the fire builds inside your body. Eventually, it overtakes you and it explodes you, and you let that out on your opponent. The performances here are great. I mean, Stallone is what he is, okay? I mean, granted, he's now nominated for a fucking Oscar, but he is what he is, okay? He's fucking Rocky. Talia Shire is really, really good, especially when there's certain scenes where she just yells at Rocky and says, you know, your career is over, basically. You have to give it up. Burt Young, Drunken Uncle Paulie. Comedic relief, fantastic. Love him. We have, like I said, Sage Stallone does what he does. You know, I mean, I don't know if I think this might be his first role, and I don't know how big of a career he had prior to his death. I think eventually he just moved behind the scenes and was a producer. But he's very decent. I mean, obviously you can tell they're father and son, they're fucking father and son. But he's actually got a very good chemistry with his dad here. They play off each other very well. You know, the loving family and stuff like that. Especially when eventually Rocky Jr. shuns the attention of Rocky, because eventually Rocky, you know, he's obsessed with training Tommy, and that becomes his top priority. So Rocky Jr. is kind of pushed to the side. Eventually, you know, Rocky Jr. is, you know, getting bullied by kids, and instead of his dad helping him teaching him how to fight, he's got to fucking learn how to fight from Drunken Uncle Paulie. So they have, you know, this huge feud, and you can see, you know, maybe Sage Stallone put a little bit of his own frustrations in this, but you can tell when he's telling Rocky, basically, you know, I'm sick of being in your shadow, type of thing, you know. I'm your son, Tommy's not, you know, love me for who I am, you believe it. Tommy Morrison is great. Tommy Morrison as Tommy the Machine Gun. So good. And for he's not Oscar worthy, but for being a professional athlete, playing a boxer, he does really well. He's really good at being likable in the beginning, And then he's super great at being his asshole towards the end. You have, oh God, Richard Gant. Oh, love Richard Gant. Richard Gant, you've seen, I've mentioned before, he's in another You Hate It, I Don't video that I do. He's the coroner in Jason Goes to Hell. Richard Gant here plays the Don King promoter, who eventually takes Tommy Gunn under his wing, takes Tommy away from Rocky, promises him the world, blah, 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 and what have you. And he's really good. He's basically Don King, but he's this asshole that you just want to see him get his ass kicked. And in the end, when he finally gets some comeuppance, you're like, yes, finally, good. Like I said, it goes the dramatic routes, and it goes the really sweet dramatic routes here in this film. There's a scene where Rocky is in his attic, and he's reminiscing. And he's going through all his personal belongings, and he picks up a boxing glove. He's talking to himself, he's just punching his hand like that, pretending to box. And he starts saying, slip the jab. Okay, he keeps saying slip the jab repeatedly. And suddenly in the background you hear Mickey, his old trainer's voice. So he's obviously reminiscing about Mickey. And they got Burgess Meredith to come back to play Mickey in some, not really some flashbacks, but a dream sequence. And you see this loving scene between a younger Rocky and Mickey. And Mickey, it's before Rocky's fight with Apollo in the first film. And it's just a wonderful scene how, he's teaching Rocky how to fight. And he comes and he tells Rocky, he gives Rocky like this little cufflink. It's a boxing glove that Mickey wore around his neck. And he said, think of this as like your guardian angel. And every time you feel down, you hear that angel say, get up, you son of a bitch, because Mickey loves you. And my favorite quote in the whole fucking movie. I'll explain why in one of my favorite scenes. But it's just a sweet exchange between teacher and student. I mean, Mickey's been dead since, Rocky 3. So he wasn't even in Rocky 4 at all. And it's a sweet reunion, and it's really, really, really well done. One of my favorite scenes in the movie, because Mickey, you can tell, cares for Rocky like a son, I don't know if they ever said Mickey had any children himself, but he looks at Rocky as one of his sons. Another favorite scene is, I love how after Tommy has won the world championship, and he thinks, what's his name? Richard Gant's character is Duke something, but he thinks Duke, and he does not thank Rocky. This is a sad scene. They're down in Rocky's basement, and they're watching the fight. And you got Rocky Jr., and you got Adrian sitting on the stairs. And Rocky is watching the fight, and then Paulie's in the armchair just getting drunk. And Rocky's watching this, and he's getting intense, and every time Tommy punches, his opponent, Rocky hits the heavy bag, and it's going heavy and heavy and heavy. And finally, Tommy knocks the guy out. Rocky's cheering. He's so happy. And then suddenly Tommy thanks everyone, especially, and then he says, I like to thank the man who brought me to where I am today. And he thanks Richard Gant's character and not Rocky. Rocky's not even fucking mentioned at all. And you just see the heartbreak and disappointment in Rocky's face. You see the disappointment and, the worrisome faces of Adrian and Rocky Jr. And then, Paulie just saying he was nothing but a bum anyway. But you see that the happiness of Rocky, how proud he is, and then suddenly it's gone. So eventually we get to the end of the movie, and Tommy is fucking jealous. He's tired of people calling him like Rocky's robot and stuff like this because he's giving Rocky no credit. And of course he's hearing about it in the press and what have you. And eventually Rocky and Paulie are at a bar, and Tommy finds him, and he challenges Rocky to a fight. And Rocky's like, yeah, go away, dude. You are what you are. And basically gives him the 1-2. So Paulie gets up because Tommy won't let him go, and Paulie just gets nailed right in the fucking face. Rocky goes to check on him, and it causes a street fight to happen. And Richard Gant saying basically, no, he only fights in the ring. And then Rocky, another one of my favorite lines, he says, "My ring's outside." And so they go outside in this hellacious street fight. I mean, bare knuckles, you got trash cans being used, kicks, all this stuff. And I mentioned Mickey, okay? And I mentioned Mickey's line, the "get up, you son of a bitch" line, because for a while, Rocky's getting his ass handed to him. And there's a scene where basically Rocky's on the ground and he can't get up. And then you see this vision in his head. And you hear Mickey saying, it's like, it's the "get up, you son of a bitch," because Mickey loves you. And then, of course, you hear the fucking, Rocky theme playing. And then Rocky slowly gets up. And then they have the rest of this hellacious fight. And, the movie ends. And it's a very intense scene. It's very great. I mean, the use of Mickey here as, Rocky's inspiration to get up and finish this is so good. God damn. I really don't understand why people shit on this film so much. I mean, seriously. I mean, maybe a lot of people don't like the fact that Rocky's not a fighter here. I mean, he's not a boxer. But I mean, how many more times can Rocky get in the ring, lose, then win in the end, I mean, they're trying to go back to the dramatic routes, making him the underdog, and he is the underdog in this entire film. And for a while, he's the underdog in the final fight with Tommy Morrison, Tommy Gunn, what have you. And then, of course, the dramatic, conflict between Rocky and Rocky Jr., and then when they finally, accept each other and make up with each other at the end, it's very heartwarming. I mean, I love how the final fight was not for a title. It was not for money. It was for, I guess, street credit. But it was there to put Tommy Gunn in his place, to show Tommy that he should have respected his teacher, respected his roots, where he came from. And then in the end, when Rocky finally just fucking uppercuts Richard Gant's character, that's what I'm telling you, this guy's been building up being an asshole since like the first maybe 15 minutes, and then finally Rocky lets him have it. Perfect. Yeah, hands down, like I said, this movie, Rocky 5, doesn't deserve all the hate. Even Stallone says this is probably his worst film, and I honestly think that's just him kind of just jumping the bandwagon, the Rocky 5 bandwagon. I mean, there's no fucking way that this movie is worse than Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Alright? There's no fucking way that this movie is worse than Judge Dredd with Rob Schneider. Okay. In the end, Rocky 5. Why all the hate? Seriously. Give it a shot. It's a wonderful return to your roots story for Rocky. He's humble, strong performances, lovable characters. The family, including, Rocky Jr., but Uncle Paulie and Adrian and Rocky, they have this very close, before they'll tiff with Rocky and Rocky Jr., close family, loving family. Like I said, Tommy Morrison, as a boxer, he does a great job becoming this, hey, take me under your wing type character. And he goes from very, very, very likable to this big fucking hated asshole. And seeing him get his comeuppance is very, very satisfying. Like I said, Richard Gant, hilarious. Love him as fucking the Don King ripoff. Score is great, typical score. And this movie ends with one of my favorite montages. Rocky and his son walk off into the distance, and they have my favorite Elton John song playing, Measure of a Man, which is written specifically for this movie. And it's two screenshots, black and white screenshots while the credits are rolling. Black and white screenshots from Rocky 1 all the way to the end of Rocky 5. And it's just wonderful. Rocky Balboa came back, part 6. But if this was a final chapter, this was a great storybook ending from, the screenshots of part 1 all the way to screenshots of part 5 to this wonderful, wonderful Elton John song. Well, like I said, this is my favorite Elton John song. I'm a huge Elton John fan. And seriously, if you don't know what song I'm talking about, because it was written specifically for this movie, no one fucking likes this movie but me, go YouTube Measure of a Man by Elton John. And hopefully that'll get you interested in this film somehow, because this film deserves a lot more credit than it gets. So, yeah. In the end, Rocky 5. Do I know where to put this in the stage of Rocky films? No, because maybe I think that it goes in order. Or maybe this might be the... I don't want to say it's the weakest one, because I really, really enjoy it. But you know what? I love all 6 Rocky films. Haven't seen Creed yet, but yeah, definitely Rocky 5. A hidden gem is what I'm going to call it. Hidden gem, Rocky 5. So in the end, give it a shot. Thank you for sitting here and watching. Please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for your support. What else I usually say? If you're new, please like and subscribe. Blah, blah, blah. But cheers and go for it.